Okay, thanks everyone for coming. Welcome to our April planning meeting. I think we're all in attendance here today, so it should be good. Do you have any apologies? No. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land we are meeting on. And recognise their continuing connection to country. Colin, you give me something wrong here. We pay respects to elders past, present and future and emerging. Thank you. Okay. Do you have any declaration of material personal interests or conflicts from anyone, councillors or senior officers? No? We have one deputation this morning, and I'd like to ask Mick and Marie Nasser to come up to the table, and the floor will be all yours.
Straight up, eh?
Straight up, mate.
Oh, I guess notice you know who we are. My dear wife Marie. I'd just like to thank you for the opportunity to present a bit of a case here today, and I guess you all know why I'm here. And we have three issues on the matter. One is the unapproached announced of the mayor coming down to see me, and our distribution shed has to go, and the change in direction of the service lane, railway lane, is going in the opposite direction. Those two decisions, if they went ahead, would just about seize our business and livelihood, 75% of it. So I'm here to defend myself on those two issues. There's been some discussion since, but I've prepared this in the last 2 weeks. So I'll just go through it. You've got a copy in front of you. On Friday, March 31, the mayor arrived at my drive-through bottle shop asking to see me urgently with no prior warning. I organised staff cover to see him, and he gave notice of the storage shed removal as part of the Pryor Creek project. He let me know that his engineers recommended the removal as the shed would be an eyesore for the development, and the matter was final. I was a bit shocked. I had no warning about this meeting, so I went ahead. But I'm proud to acknowledge the Nasser family has been part of our beloved community's progress and history for over 90 years, 93 in fact, and we are firm advocates of growth and collaboration in the Atherton Tablelands. We are major sponsors of every sporting body in the region, fundraisers, regularly donate towards the community. It's our understanding that Pryor Creek project is to be implemented without damaging local business, and the shed's removal will have severe implications to our daily operation. We use this distribution shed for a multiple of reasons. We store maintenance equipment, a forklift. Every Tuesday we receive 30 plus pallets of merchandise which is stored and distributed to our 3 bottle shops. And over 12 local businesses, sporting bodies and a couple of farms also we have a freezer that holds 2 tons of ice, and it's our biggest selling item, believe it or not. We also allow sporting bodies to store alcohol because it's more secure than their own facilities. I explained there was no alternative to accommodate this volume of distribution, and the mayor's response was, "I don't care, that's not my problem, I have no choice in the matter." I was taken back. Please note, the Council Economic Development Officer assured us the shed was included in the Pryor Creek plan, which the mayor disputed. The mayor's attitude and response during our unexpected conversation frankly left me feeling bullied, stressed and anxious. The mayor's lack of empathy, flexibility and unwillingness to discuss the situation has given me deeper concerns for the governance of our community. and I would like to pose the following questions to council for discussion. Would the council be willing to discuss the eyesore's concerns? We believe there are positive productive options. We could renovate the exterior or suggest commissioning a local artist to mural the shed's exterior. And would the council be prepared to disclose the Prior Creeks development's current plan along the planning and approval process? The clubs and not-for-profit community groups and events that require our storage facilities, just to name a few, are the Atherton Senior and Junior Rugby League. We deliver their alcohol. All these bodies, the only way they can make funds is through sale of alcohol. Both footy clubs, both senior and junior cricket, the Atherton Turf Club, the Atherton Bowls Club, Mount Garnet Racing and the Radio Committee, the Atherton Annual Bull Ride, the Atherton Show Society, and heaps of local weddings. So they all rely on us storing their alcohol. We deliver the day before. If they have a large amount of alcohol in their premises, they get broken into every week. The other club I failed to mention was the golf club. They got smashed into last week, and luckily the culprits got found. That's the second issue. The third issue is the reversal of Railway Lane. Would also like to raise the reversal of Railway Lane, which will have further implications for our business and police operations which use the lane to avoid Main Street congestion during emergencies. Youth crime has increased in our community over recent years, and I'm sure we can agree that the police response time is critical. So the police, they dart down that road regularly, and they're at the bridge and the roundabout. If they go, the only other way is to go onto the main street. They'd be still at the ANZ Bank, whereas if they use that lane, they're on their way. So I've just got just a conclusion and a summary of the above. Number one is the first issue. The Mayor's lack of empathy and unwillingness to discuss the matter poses a concern for integrity and governance. The Mayor's ambush approach has left me feeling bullied, stressed and anxious, which can impact. I've got a serious heart condition and I didn't need this at the time. Did the Mayor have the authority of this council to approach me in this manner? So that was pretty good. I said to him, this has come out of left field. He wouldn't listen to me. The second major issue is losing the distribution shed, which will negatively impact my business by 75%, which equates to a figure in excess of 10 million. The Barron Valley has no alternative to operate without it, so we were screwed if that shed goes, because everything goes from there. The reversal of the one-way railway lane will reduce the BVs and other Main Street businesses' trade. We'll be forced to cease our drive-through bottle shop operation, which averages 1,200 vehicle customers each week. And the Christmas week and that we get close to 2,000. If the distribution set stays and the reversal of one-way railway lane is reversed, our drive-through bottle shop will be forced to cease operation, which equates to 3.5 million in turnover. So if you can imagine, at the moment it's so convenient for people. They just come up the Main Street, whichever way they're coming from town, they can just go in, get them, so convenient, go down the one-way street and they're out. But to reverse it, they've got to go down the Main Street, back up Railway Lane, hit the Carrington, then fight their way back onto the Main Street and go back down the Main Street and then back up the Main Street. It'd do your head in. The Barron Valley Hotel employs up to 50 staff, including 12 full-time staff and their 3 bottle shops. This matter has caused great anxiety for our staff, ourselves and our family. Ultimately, the distribution shed and keeping the current layout of Railway Lane is integral to operating the Barron Valley Hotel and supporting other local businesses and sporting bodies. I just ask the Council to seriously consider this matter and appreciate the damaging impact of the Mayor's proposal. So I want this matter resolved ASAP. I cannot relax until it's sorted out. I just want a clear direction on that ASAP. Thank you.
Thanks, Mick. Any questions?
Just a comment. After our meeting yesterday, there'll be 2 reports presented to the next ordinary council meeting, one in relation from our traffic engineer in relation to the direction of the traffic, and one from me in relation to the shed itself, and tenure, etc. Way forward there. So we appreciate that's a fortnight away, but that's the order. So I can get those matters in front of council.
I had a, Gary and Anthony came down and had a discussion yesterday, so I just happened to be there at the time, and we had 2 semis rock up, and they're appreciative, they're looking into the matter, and the option was a 2-way lane, and I said that's not going to work, because we're not the only one who use that as a service lane. Every business has trucks and semis pulling up. It's impossible to have a 2-way street. So they were looking at that, and so I was happy to hear that, but I want an answer ASAP. I can't wait another 2 weeks. This is going to hang over our head. I don't know if you can resolve it today. I don't know how council operate, but if they can, it would be great.
Oh,
Just to clarify that, there are, we've been, our CEO and our officers have obviously seek legal advice, and we've taken that on board. You won't get a decision out of council today, but you will in 2 weeks' time. That's about the quickest that we can get it done. Even that is really putting our officers under pressure, because we've got to decipher our legal advice and look at what the consequences are if we do reverse it and keep the shed and the like. But yeah, anybody else got anything they want to say?
yeah, I'll say, I think I've always said straight from the beginning, and what I will say to you, Mike and Reece, thanks for coming and voicing your concerns, but I can tell you now, at the end of the day, this council, the 7 members of the council makes the decisions. Okay,
Well,
so we
right.
may have to wait, as we've spoke about. We're looking at legal advice for certain things.
If that railway lane's reversed, that bottle shop's finished, okay?
Yep, I understand that, but
No ifs, buts or maybes.
all I want to say is that we make the decision. No one else makes the decision. It's up to us.
We'll appreciate that, Adam.
And I did drive down Railway Lane from my store at the back today, and from the sports store down, all the buildings have a fence right to the road. So they would have to take their car right out on the carriageway to see if there's a car coming up this way. It'd be impossible. It is so dangerous. But anyway, that'll be part of the report. But I can assure you, right, I'll do my utmost, and I've always said I'm here to represent the people of my town, and I won't let you down.
I just hope the rest of you don't do that.
Well, we've always appreciated the work of the council. We've never had.
As we said yesterday,
Hey,
taking on board your concerns, and those concerns will be reflected in the reports that go back to council.
the whole idea of this project is not to impact on any business. We've mentioned that we might get increased foot traffic, but it's insignificant compared to what we operate. And I've got concern about the whole project. We're not here to discuss that, but that might be for another day.
And just one further thing is, and that means that report, right, will come back to the OCM, which is the ordinary council meeting, in 2 weeks' time. Quite welcome to come back and be in the gallery to watch the decision and the debate and see who votes for it and who does not.
So, if the decision is to reverse it, what's my next option?
Just don't go there.
Do I go there?
Okay, any further questions for Nick and Marie? Well, thanks very much for coming in and voicing your concerns, and the whole council's heard it. So, yeah, in another 2 weeks' time, we hope to have some more direction for you, put your mind at ease one way or the other.
I'll be in touch again before then.
Yeah.
Council can talk
Thanks for
through
coming
where
down
we're at.
yesterday, Gary.
That's right. And I'll be back before that meeting.
Through you, Mr. Chair, and take advice from the CEO, of course, is with these allegations, one of the councillors Sorry, can't hear you.
But
Oh, yeah.
the mayor's not here, and
Yeah.
we've heard a version of it.
Yes.
It's only right that the mayor is afforded the opportunity to address
defend.
those before any further debate takes place about it, I think.
You happy with it?
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing further on that one? Okay, moving on, there is no mirror minute. And we'll get straight into item 8.1, the Caban Wind Farm reconfiguration of the lot, lease term exceeding 10 years. And I'll ask the planners to come up. Okay, so item 8.1, we have the officer's recommendation there. I have a mover and a seconder of the officer's recommendation. So Councillor Clifton moves, seconded by Councillor Wilkes. Councillor Clifton,
I'm just acting now. I'm happy to follow the officer's recommendations.
thank you.
Perhaps,
You would happy, Councillor.
Happy, yes, yes.
perhaps we could just have a brief précis from the officers.
Through the chair, this is just a straightforward technical resolution to create some tenure over a parcel of land for the wind farm. Because it's technically a lease exceeding 10 years, it requires a reconfiguring a lot approval. There's no approval with respect to it.
Thanks.
Any further questions regarding this report? Okay, we've got a mover and a seconder. All in favour? Okay. Okay, the next item, 8.2, the Southern Link Road, Weaver Street trunk infrastructure considerations. Can I have a mover and a seconder of the officer's recommendation, please? Councillor Hodge moving, and seconder, Councillor Wilkes.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Yeah, this project has been going on for some time now, and before I ask to move to the officers for the technical explanation of the trunk infrastructure, what I would like to say is I'd like to thank the officers to be able to move with change. Things have changed since the original approvals. It's become very apparent that if we went, because it wasn't trunk infrastructure, or it's not trunk infrastructure, that to develop this part of the this estate would be just uneconomical for everybody. So I'd say thank you to the officers for being able to move with change and come back with a solution that really now lets the developers move forward. So with that, I'd just like to go to the office.
Could I just ask Kelly or Dan if you could just give a brief explanation for the people watching?
Yep.
So,
It's going to take a bit of an unorthodox approach and talk it
Yeah.
through on a plan, if
Yeah,
it's okay, because I think it'll be easier for everyone.
it's just a lot easier to show some of the maps. So, back in 2004, council had some discussions with the Department of Main Roads about creating a local bypass to take some of the pressures of Robert Street. And as part of those discussions, they came up with the idea of the Southern Link Road, which was what you're seeing on your screen there. So basically over here, you've got Herberton Road, Platypus Park, and over here is the International Club. So there was a report that went to council in 2007 about the emerging residential development trends in Atherton, looking at where growth was potentially going to expand to in the years to come. And there was some discussion about developing the land to the south of this corridor at the time. And a separate report was tabled around that time, whereby council agreed on this alignment for the Southern Link Road. So this is a no access bypass. So what that means is that lots wouldn't be able to actually have accesses directly onto the road. So these points here that you see are actually roundabouts, and then all the lots developed in that precinct would actually be developed internally. So it's an arterial, no access road. preserving the function of the road. So scroll down, we had Flanagan Consulting actually do a transport study for the former Atherton Shire area in 2009. Or TRC at that time, started under Atherton. So they came up with this concept here. So that's the Southern Link Road, the future state-controlled bypass being Hasty Road to the south, and these are your arterial connectors in between. So the idea was that would be the southern growth precinct for residential development with some sort of neighbourhood scale non-residential development in the years to come absorbed within that area. That did have some issues associated with it in that precinct is largely comprised of good quality agricultural land and is constrained in parts by drainage features associated with Hasty Swamp. Moving down, so these are the growth I believe it was in 2010. We engaged consultants as part of the investigations underpinning the TRC planning scheme, the current TRC planning scheme, as to where we should actually nominate a precinct for the future urban growth. They looked at 3 urban growth areas, potential urban growth areas. One was on Tate Road in Tolga, so that's what they call Urban Development Investigation Area North. We have over here, we have Urban Investigation Area East, which is along Rockley Road. So that was owned rural residential at the time. There's piggeries there, and that's Mountain View. And the land to the north of Warnes Road and Tinaroo Falls Dam Road here is actually GQual and zone rural. That was later dropped from that precinct. And then we have the UDIA South, which is the area that we're now talking about. So as time went on, there was a number of representations made by developers over the years in regards to the alignment of the bypass. So this is the current day alignment. There's been quite a number of development proposals put before council, some of which have approvals, some of which are only in the pipeline at the moment, very likely to result in future applications before council. So what you're looking at there, we have Pleasant View Estate, which has the majority of its approvals. Sunshine Group, which is a multi-unit / retirement village. It has an approval to have their works underway. They'll actually be responsible for constructing the intersection. This is actually private land. This strip of land in here at the moment is actually private land owned by Sunshine Group at the moment, but their approval requires them to dedicate that as road reserve, and in doing so, completing the reserve corridor. We have the recent approval for approximately 50 lots by Richard Chobo, which would be accessible via Quadrio Street. Jubilee College has expansion plans going forward to 2040, I believe, thereabouts, with an ultimate, by 2028, they're anticipated to have about 250 students. And then we have Atherton Rise, which basically, so Atherton Rise, I'll show you some of the other plans down here. So that's what I was just talking about there, that shows the location of various approvals. Originally, the Choibo land was actually meant to be stage 4 of Atherton Rise. It was about 130 lots, I think, under the prelim approval for Atherton Rise. So that's since been abandoned. And that's essentially what the developer of Atherton Rise is asking us to do now, given that he has conditions on him to commence construction of the Southern Link Road as part of his existing infrastructure agreement. He has to build the conditions of his IA, says prior to sealing the final lot in stage 2 of Atherton Rise, he has to have constructed the Southern Link Road from Herberton Road to approximately the entry point there near Turner Avenue. Actually, sorry, correct myself, I believe it was for the full frontage of his land, which he's made representations to officers that is prohibitive. So that's the existing approved stage 1 of Atherton Rise. This is his current proposal that is based on access via Turner Avenue. That's 40 lots. This is the 2040 plan for Jubilee Christian College. That's Shoibo's development approved lots, 48 lots. That's just an indicative layout for the balance of the Shoibo land, an additional 48 lots. That's the Sunshine Group development, which is approximately 140 multi-units / group title lots. That's the indicative overall layout for Pleasant View Estate, which is about 230 lots. So over the years, since those original decisions were made in relation to the Southern Link Road, it was anticipated that that area shown in green would be built out by now. So since in the 15 years since council first resolved to create the Southern Link Road and start conditioning approvals to construct that piece of infrastructure, by this day it was anticipated that entire area in green would be developed. So that's, you'll see over time that we have 144 lots developed in that precinct as of this day. The ultimate capacity within that precinct is about 630 lots. So that's 2013, you've got 38 lots. 2018, 128 lots, plus some additions to the school. 2021, 144 lots, plus childcare centre and some further additions to the school. So as part of that 2016 scheme, when it was adopted, council resolved to actually go with the UDIA East. So what that effectively meant that any plans for that Southern Growth precinct were abandoned at that point, deferred until such time as the Rockley Road precinct was completely built out. So what that now means is, given that the pace of development of that precinct is well behind what it was anticipated in 2007, it would be premature to ask developers to construct this infrastructure at this point. And to ask any of the developers, unless that is, it's absolutely necessary to service their development, as is the case for the Sunshine Group development. Yeah, it would be on the ratepayers to pay the maintenance and depreciation costs of constructing that infrastructure, and we wouldn't have a bypass for several years to come, as it's completely up to the developers. At which point they would release further lots.
So I think in summary, councillors, what we're recommending is that we remove the obligation for the partial construction of the bypass from the current development approvals. There's a technical way of doing that, but we don't need to go into that in detail today. And that we look at reviewing the timing for delivery of the bypass in council's 10-year planning scheme review and long-term local government infrastructure plan review. And based on demand, we set a timing for the delivery of that. It becomes part of your local government infrastructure plan, or LGIP, and then ultimately when the right time to construct it, you can draw down on your trunk infrastructure charges that you've collected from development to construct it at the most appropriate time. That's the crux of, based on the history that Dan's gone through, that's the crux of the recommendation from officers today.
Thanks, Kelly. Thanks, Dan. Any questions, council?
No, happy to support it.
Yeah, very happy.
All happy? Okay, if there's no further questions, we have a mover and a seconder. All those in favour? Thank you, Dan. Kelly. Okay, item 8.3, Table and Veterinary Services and Investment Incentive Policy. Do I have a mover for the office recommendation? Councillor Wilkes and Councillor Melanie seconding. Councillor Wilkes?
Call on the officer to give us pricing of how we're here right now, please. Sorry, what was the question? Yeah, just
Can
to
you
Tracy.
give a brief overview, please?
Oh, okay, yep, so Tableland Veterinary Services made an application to Council's investment incentive policy via our online form. They applied under primary industry development and catalytic projects. In their application, they did also mention the significant amount of research and education that goes on with the facility, both in the land and within the proposed new facility. I requested further additional information from Tableland Veterinary Services on the extent of that research and education partnership. Subsequently, it was identified that every final year vet student from James Cook University, 2-week blocks, I think, come and stay in Atherton or Malanda and undertake a placement at the vet services. So it's an integral long-term strategic partnerships that's been happening between Tableland Veterinary Services and James Cook University. Given that, and also the research component that exists within Tableland Veterinary Services, is my recommendation that they be considered eligible for an incentive. Any funding, if they are and are deemed eligible and do meet the remaining criteria, they've indicated they will reinvest any infrastructure charges back into the facility to further promote research and education.
Good, thank you, John.
Anybody else got any questions for Angela?
No, happy with it.
No? Happy? Thanks, Angela. Okay, we've got a mover and a seconder. All those in favour? Carried. Okay, final item of the report today. For the meeting today is item 8.4, Price Creek Development Expression of Interest Freehold Lots. I have a mover and a seconder.
Just have a slightly altered recommendation. I did just alter it, as it's not strictly a planning matter, but rather related to planning matters. That the committee should resolve. The committee has the capacity to be satisfied that they can. Did I not send that back?
Did you, Mark?
So what we go?
My apologies. I reworded it slightly. Sorry, Jim. I'll have to deal with it on the run. Just firstly, a resolution from the committee when the committee's comfortable considering the matter, as it's not strictly a planning application, it is, but it's interrelated with planning approvals given previously to current form of the lots and the road. So if that could just be, you just put that up, Jackie, that the committee resolves.
So what are we trying to go?
No, just add in one.
Oh,
Firstly, you just
add
need a
into one.
resolution that the committee can consider this matter today, that's all.
The steering committee.
No. This
Oh,
committee,
planning committee.
this planning committee, as it's not strictly a planning application, it's an expression of interest to acquire land.
Consider.
Yeah, that council, it's actually that the committee.
So I'll need to put that before.
Yes, please.
Consider.
Yep. The commencement of the expression of interest process for the sale of proposed free lots, 1, 2, et cetera, et cetera.
I'm down here.
Yeah, got lots 1, 2, 3, et cetera. No, back up from 1.
This one here.
Yeah, lots 1, 2, 3, and 4 identified on the development plan. Attachment. Yep, that's it. The freehold lots. My apologies, I thought I sent that back. Yeah, the freehold lots, good, thank you. But that's dealt with first, so the committee's not comfortable considering the matter, it's really just a technical procedural matter. It doesn't fall strictly within the remit of this committee.
Okay.
So if we could just move that part, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so, do we have a mover and a seconder?
Just put that
Made by councillor Hodge, seconded by councillor Wilkes. Anybody want to have any further discussion?
Yes,
This is
The
the
mo-
matter, this is just considered for a matter. This is a substandard motion.
All those in favour?
okay,
Yeah, this is just to consider.
one, okay.
I just have a question if I may. Of the CEO, does that mean elsewhere where our recommendations, our resolutions are, that council, we should be dealing with that committee?
Should have been tidying that up before now, we should be saying the committee. Yes, definitely.
Thank you.
But the second question I have relates to that, it's largely procedural, if I may, is does then the planning committee minutes, should then be taken to the OCM, the ordinary council meeting, for endorsement?
They are, but the terms of reference allow the committee to decide the matters. So when council established committee, the committee has the power to decide the matters. However, it is the committee, not the council. The fact that you're all here doesn't make it the council. The right word is the committee, strictly speaking. And my apologies for correcting
So I'll move the second part.
Yeah, okay, so the first part's all cleared up, we've all voted on that, carried. Okay, for the second part,
And just in the second part, could we add part 2, add the word resolve in front of it is? Just, no, in front of, please. Thank you. Just so that it reads correctly, that's all.
okay, for the second part, we have a move and a second, please. Councillor Hodge. Councillor Clifton, secondly. Councillor Hodge.
Yeah, thanks very much. As per the steering committee, there was two ways we could have done this. We could have went straight to tender, or we could have went to expressions of interest. So we felt that it was in the best interest of council that we actually go out and actually get expressions of interest, because we could go out full tender and get none, and we've gone through a waste of all that time and effort and money. So this is the point that we go out and see what expressions of interest is out there, and that's the main reason for the expression of interest. But who knows, the police department might want to buy one of the blocks, put a precinct in there, who knows?
Anybody else? Councillor Clifton.
I'm happy to support this motion going forward, seeking input from commercial interests for participation. This project is not something that I believe should be carried by the ratepayers of Tableland Regional Council alone. It needs genuine commercial input, and the success of the expression of interest process will be important from my point of view of determining the future of the project. If we can't get commercial funds involved, we have to really assess. So I think this step is really important. From my personal perspective, I support this very much, but I want to state that from my perspective, if there is no genuine commercial response to this expression of interest, then from my perspective, there can be no project. I've stated this previously, I want to make sure that it's understood. And at the same time, I express that what we expect from this, we shouldn't hold our expectations too high, because we know, if we watch the news and if we look at our children's interest rates and their loans, and we look at a whole range of other things, we know that there is a significant deteriorating economic circumstance throughout the world and in Australia. And so we know that commercial money is going to get tight. The final point I wanted to make was, I heard Mr. Nass's commentary today. Although these elements, there are elements of what his deputation was, are included in this area, this is an expression of interest, not a final document, not a final approach. And I personally feel that he is able, that the concerns that he has is able to be accommodated within the concept, within the background of this resolution, without affecting his views and without affecting our ability to go forward. So I support it, but in all of those contexts.
So the matters raised this morning and that will be the subject of the reports to the OCM can run in parallel with getting this process underway. Very comfortable that they run in parallel and won't conflict.
Thanks, Mr. Senator.
Anyone else? Any further questions? Comments? No? All right, we've got a move on the seconder. All in favour? Carried. Okay, that was our last item on the agenda. Is there any business without notice? No?
For the record, I'd like to, as you know, I did put forward a business without notice, but I'm happy to accept the effect of the meeting that the CEO had with Mr. and Mrs. Nasser yesterday, and some other developments that have occurred, including the clarification about the way the planning committees are meant to work. So I'm happy to accept that that business without notice becomes a notice of motion at the meeting in 2 weeks' time. Thanks, Mr. Deputy.
Thanks, Councillor Crichton. Nobody else got any business without notice? Okay, the next meeting of council will be the ACM on Thursday, 27th of April, 2023, in this meeting place here. I declare the meeting closed.